especially with all these celebrities that we have.
You don't want to start from the beginning. Could you take roll call, please, Patrick?
Wayne Clark,
Yes.
Nemeth,
Here.
Alderman Weigel,
Here.
Jerry Meyer,
Here.
Mike Suter,
Here.
Alderman Haas, and Karen Gale are excused.
Thank you. We have a quorum. First thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the July 11th meeting. Is there any additions or corrections? If not, can I have a motion, please?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Minutes stand approved. First item on the agenda. Resolution to approve the scope of services for Rambo US Consulting Incorporated for environmental services for the property located at 6771 West National Avenue in the amount not to exceed $20,000. Patrick, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna have Sean outline this one.
This would be an agreement to hire Ramble Environmental, who we use on many of our projects, to assist on the Kearney Trekker development. As within the agreement, the city CDA would be utilizing, doing paying for incremental environmental costs up to $200,000. Ramble has estimated those costs to be around $120,000, and the EPA would cover the consulting costs as part of that.
Thank you. Any questions? Have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We move for approval and second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Item 3, resolution amending financial real estate consulting services contract with SB Freeman Development Advisor in the amount not to exceed $25,000. Patrick?
Mr. Chairman, what we commonly use SB Freeman. Last meeting, we also set up a contract with Baker Tilly, just because of the number of development projects that have multiple firms review our development agreements and the performas and work with developers and our team to make sure that we are getting the best deal for the city. This is an extension of the scope that they have with us in the review of projects, and we are asking to increase the funding for that so we can continue utilizing SB Freeman.
I have a motion for a resolution.
So moved.
Is there any further questions or regarding these items?
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, no further discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Item 4, resolution to approve the development agreement between the City of West Dallas and 3LP West Dallas LLC for the property located at 8530 to 5600 West National Avenue. Patrick?
Mr. Chairman, members of the authority, we do have representatives of 3LP here tonight, David Lyon, John Peckin. We've been working together for the past over a year in formulating the development at 85th and National Avenue, the former Clark Oil property. It's around a 3-acre site, and as you recall, they are looking to build a $68 million development cost project, future value around $48 million, of 247 units of all market rate apartments. If you look at what the building will be, it's a 6-story apartment complex with 319 underground parking stalls. There'll be amenities such as dog pools, or not dog pools, but dog park, pool, a community room, balconies, very high-end type of quality units within our community. If you look at the units, it'd be 129 one-bedroom, 94 two-bedroom, and 15 three-bedroom units. The rent structures, you know, on average are estimated around 1,200 for the studios. We have 9 studios, I didn't have that on the other chart. And then one bedroom, 1,400 to 1,700, two bedrooms between 1,900 to 2,100, and three bedrooms up to $2,400. The capital stack, you can see here the bank loan, the sponsor equity, TIF loan. This is the pay-go TIF model where they have to capitalize the increment stream from the increment stream of the TIF. And then we have preferred equity, common equity, and EPA loan of $500,000. And the EPA approved the eligibility for the site today for the $500,000. So we have that moving forward as well. The pay-go structure, if you looked at what it would be worth today, it's around 13.1 million, based on the need of the project, based on interest rates and construction costs. The project does need 27 years of TIF in order to provide the necessary returns to attract the equity to the development. Overall, the project, when it's complete, will have over close to $1 million in actual increment gained at the site. So there's a significant growth following the completion of the 27 years. We've looked at the development deal and looked at returns. You know, there are key numbers. So the rates of return are, 14% construction savings. This is a typical clause that we put in our development agreements, that if the project receives significant savings through the course of the project, those savings are split 50-50 between the developer and the city. And then we have a promote structure for the 27 years of the TIF that the developer is providing if it hits certain benchmarks on the project. This is what we commonly refer to as the success clause, or the payback, or if you're so wildly successful on this project because of the TIF, then we would get funds back. There's a chance here based on the review and certain performance measure marks that the city could receive potentially in excess of $2.5 million. This is SB Freeman's comments from the review. They see that they say 2.9, 2.6 in their review. I just be 2.5 will be a little bit more conservative, just to see how the deal flows. So I've outlined these clauses before in the development, and our recommendation is to proceed with the development agreement and make a recommendation to council to approve the CDA. I'd gladly answer any questions you may have, or the developer as well. They are looking to start, let's see, October. They have their commitments from financing, and I think you said you received a sizable equity commitment already at this stage, so the project is moving forward. There is one issue that still has to be mitigated. There's a lateral that, because the site was part of a larger area, there is a lateral that goes underneath the building that the developer and adjacent property owner are working through. That's a significant issue in term for one property owner, but they are working through that particular situation.
So demo in October, that's a month?
Correct, and actually they'll be building remediation. The existing building has, or abatement I should say.
Oh, okay.
There's some tiles and mastic and exterior glazing on the windows and such that will require special abatement, environmental abatement, before the demo will occur. So that would take place in the course of the first 2 to 3 weeks of October, and then it will take probably less than 2 weeks for the building to come down once that's completed. So by the end of October, we're hoping the building will be cleared and the site ready to start excavation.
And if I may continue, sometimes we see numbers about how many temporary construction jobs there are here. Do you know value on that? It's a 2-year build out? 18 months?
18 months. Boy, I don't know that
Okay.
number offhand. We'll get that and
Yeah.
circulate it back through
It's
staff.
just more good news about
Absolutely.
or impacts in the community.
And our, if we haven't said before in past meetings, our builder is Catalyst Construction, based in Milwaukee, and so they're local, and they hire locally and regionally. They're subs.
And I heard heard another developer on a different project talking about they're seeing a real demand for 3 bedrooms. I didn't see a lot of 3 bedrooms in there. I mean, is that not your experience, or?
Not
Yeah,
necessarily
we
here.
engaged Tracy Cross and Associates,
Okay.
and we've had them to continue to evaluate the market
Yeah.
over the last year, just to make sure we're, targeting, or setting aside the right unit count.
Okay, okay.
And so, yeah, they've advised us on our unit mix, and, we show that if we deliver that, units can be absorbed within,
Well, they're just,
14 months.
they're just talking about the home office thing.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Move approval.
Second.
Been moved for approval in a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, resolution passes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We're going to West Allen.
Continue to work with West Allen.
Well, you already own that.
Now you can go to work. Almost. One more meeting.
The development agreement would be before council on September 1st. I think that's the next council meeting, so.
6.
And- 6?
6.
Oh, I apologize, 6. And then we have a joint review board tomorrow afternoon for the tip.
Fantastic,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, have a great evening.
Okay, we'll go to item number 5, resolution to approve purchase and sale and development agreement between the City of West Dallas, Community Development Authority of West Dallas and BR West Dallas LLC for the property located at 6771 West National Avenue and the property located at 6700 West National Avenue. Patrick?
Mr. Chairman, we do have a representative here tonight from Palm Revision. I'll have Sean outline the project, and then if you have any questions, Bryant is here to gladly answer anything and give a little update on the status of the project. I don't know what do you want to do first.
Yeah, that sounds great. Brian, I can run through it, and then you wanna just kinda. Ryan's here to also kinda share Baum's vision for the project, but I'll just kinda run through where we're at with the development agreement and such prior to. You know, as we've been updating you along the way, it's still about around a $16 million project, and Baum Revision has a tenant to utilize the space, which would basically be sort of broken in half between office, warehousing space, and event space of the approximate 41,000 square feet. And we continue to work through the development agreement with Baum and the city, and feel like we're on the same page on all of the issues. Major deal points within the agreement. CDA sells the building to the developer for $1. Developer rehabilitates, activates the building, creates a destination. And as part of the agreement, the city CDA builds out at least 130 parking stalls within the adjacent property, the about 1.5 acre property to the east of the building, and then leases it back to the developer. And the other thing is the environmental. City CDA would agree to pay up to $200,000 towards the environmental. Again, we're estimating that based on Ramble's estimate and looking at the site, the general concept plan, at about $120,000. We do have EPA funds to assist for some of that, and then the remainder would be paid for through TIF funds. For the parking lot construction, we have a mix of EPA grant funds, TIF fund, that would cover as much as we could possibly cover from the environmental standpoint, which is significant because it includes capping, paving, things like that. So that will assist us in a big way on that. And then the remainder would be paid through TIF. And if we can access MMSD funds, we'd like to do that as well.
Not for the parking lot, but for the stormwater retention, right?
Right, as part of, yep.
Where's the stormwater retention gonna be, under the parking lot?
We're gonna work through, we have a contract with Ayers and Associates, and so we'll be working through that detail with them. I think it's gonna be a mix of swales and things like that.
So we might lose some parking spaces, is that what you're saying?
It's already, yeah, I mean, the general concept of where the landscaping, and
Yeah.
we've estimated the needed landscaping, stormwater, and think we can get in the 150 to 170 parking stall range within that area. We didn't wanna send Ayers off to do detailed plans on this until we know we have
Yeah.
agreement in place, so it's, we've just run some concepts at this point. And they, I should say, Ayers has provided an estimate to build out the parking lot, and it's around they estimated at about $750,000. Parking agreement details, just within the parking agreement itself, which is within the development agreement. I kinda went through them, it's the concept of building it out, leasing it back. Length of the lease, we've kind of gone back and forth with that. We're looking at, trying to match the terms that Baum has with their tenant, but also understanding that if they were to lease to another tenant, they would also need the parking, so, kind of looking at as long as it's, event space, that the parking lot lease could remain in place. Baum is responsible for all maintenance above grade, that's, the plowing, landscaping, resealing, repaving, lighting,
and utilities.
yes. The city's responsible for anything underground, and an important aspect of this is that Baum and the city would need to work out a sub-agreement with OPE. We also want to ensure, although this building's much larger than OPE and really demands more parking, we also want to make sure OPE continues to thrive and within the area.
Does the lease have a provision where Baum owns it at the end of the lease, has a very low buyout at the end of the lease?
We don't currently have that.
Thank you.
Just a quick understanding of the area around it. You're likely all somewhat familiar, but this TIF was created in 2014 to reposition, these properties in the National Avenue area, down to Mitchell and then down to the railroad tracks. There was a former Metal Technologies manufacturer that closed in 2009. They put it on the market. There were a lot of low-end users that were looking at it. A scrap user ended up buying it, and then we actually purchased it from that site. And then these were sort of adjacent properties to that purchase at that time, all purchased from that scrap user. What's taken place so far, the Behavioral Health Hospital, $19 million assessed value to the south. And Oak Brewing, we purchased that site as well, sort of following the purchase of these other properties. And, Oak Brewing just went in and that's at about 1.4 million as of the assessed value this year. So these are sort of the last two properties left in the TIF district. Again, proposals to sort of split it in half between the event space and the office. The tenant that would go in currently employs around 16 people, 40 part-time with benefits, and they anticipate adding at least 8 and then 16 part-time with benefits. In addition to, just to understand how is this space going to be used, a big part of this is creating a kind of a regional destination, an interesting use, or a very interesting building to add to the mix in this corridor. So it would all be preserved using a big part of the funding source for this are the historic tax credits, which require National Park Service approval, which means you're restoring sort of every element of the building as you go through. But how do they want to use this interesting building? Weddings, corporate events, community events, pop-up markets. These are things that actually pulled out of it's the partnership agreement that they have with the tenant. So they're not just things that they floated to us. This is within their agreement with their tenant, that these are things that they're going to try to do and go after. And this follows the model that Baum is currently doing at the Garber Feed Mill as far as types of uses going towards it. Impact. So I actually just pulled this from, this was posted from the Garber Feed Mill on Facebook today. Looks like they're advertising for what kind of local event?
It's a food entrepreneur vendor event.
So I think these are the types of events that they'd look to have here, where the general public can come in and enjoy different types of things like art, food, things of that nature. Obviously, there are a lot of added benefits to adding this type of use beyond just getting this building restored and activated and used. And just a list of them here. Supports the hotels that the CDA has invested in, and, you know, restaurants and other types of uses that would be ancillary to the events that are being held, florists, caterers, photographers, things like that. Potential timeline for approvals, it's, you know, dependent upon the CDA's direction, this evening. Act on it or hold if, you know, if it's almost regardless of that action tonight. I had council for September 5th, but I believe it may be September 6th, where the council is also a party to this agreement, and so they can take action on that, on that date. And then the CDA, it could come back to the next CDA meeting, tentatively scheduled for September 12th, where we would need to do we need to, if given direction tonight, set up a public hearing for the sale of the CDA owned land. It needs to get published twice before it can be taken up for action by the CDA. That's all we have on that. Brian's, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great overview. I mean, I appreciate you allowing us to be here. Have been, you know, just really great to work with staff through, you know, a project that we had hoped to get off the ground prior to COVID, and then that created a whole set of challenges. You know, the vision, I think, is very consistent with what we've said originally, is to create this kind of world-class destination and utilize this amazing building that you have in your community. Just a you know, quick kind of review of the timeline, you know, that we've gone through, and the work that's gone into this is, you know, we first started the historic designation back in 2019, late 2019. We got that. We went through the COVID period where, you know, not a lot was happening, then re-engaged with the city of about January of 2022. At that point, we were really aggressive at trying to find partners to occupy the space. We spent, you know, probably almost a year just working to identify that right partner. I think we've hit it out of the ballpark in terms of who we have that will occupy the space. The May of last year, we got through the process of detailing initially the windows, which will have to be replaced. They'll be replicated, so what you see is what you'll get. But that was an arduous process, took almost about a year to get into really granular detail with National Park Service to say that we were capable. We found a vendor, and we could replace the windows so that thermally the building would work, structurally would work, but it was an uphill battle. But eventually we got there in April of 23, and really that hurdle then kind of opened up an opportunity to dig into the you know, the development side of it, the financing side of it, the construction side of it. So we've been working now with the tenant, with our architect, to really lay out the building in a way that will work functionally for the uses that Sean mentioned, and also make sure and verify that our assumptions around the numbers were correct. And I'm happy to say so far things are looking really good. In terms of the tenant, they're very lockstep with kind of our vision for the project, both in terms of preserving the building. And I get the pleasure of bringing through a lot of people to that building for the very first time, and the wow factor is just, you know, it's off the charts. And so, you know, our intention is to really keep it an open space, you know, type use. We like to develop projects with what we call optionality, so that, you know, we have ideas of what things can happen there, but we're surprised always with the ideas that come from the community about ways in which we would never have thought a project like this could be utilized, or a building like this could be utilized. So we're very much, you know, intending from a design perspective to keep it very open. What I also love about our situation currently is that our tenant fits really well into the program, meaning it's an existing business. They have an office and a warehouse that will occupy about half the space. That's their kind of existing event production business. So they're out in the community, out in the region, putting on all sorts of types of events. Now they have their own venue. And so they're gonna be able to do a lot of interesting things there, and the size of the space, the layout of the space just works really well for their needs. So, you know, you know, we're working really hard on this, you know, not easy project. Building has its own set of challenges, but I think we've gotten through a majority of the hurdles. I know that there were some questions from the CDA the last couple of times about, you know, the project, and kind of questions I can go over those quickly, and if there are additional questions, I'm happy to answer. Is the building set up in an optimal way that it can be reused as a tenant for a future tenant? I would say absolutely, just to that point said earlier. We're not intending to, and historic doesn't really allow us to do a lot of extensive build out. So what we have there is kind of what we're intending to improve and to renovate. Obviously, we've got all new mechanical systems that have to come into the building, but in terms of build out, it's kind of relatively minimal. We have the office on the second floor mezzanine, but there'll be a lot of flexibility. So should something have to change in the future, I think we have that option available to us. How can we ensure the building has access to the public at various different times? That is very much at the core of what we do as an organization, what our tenant does. It is in our business interest to try to bring as many people into this building as frequently as possible, because that really highlights the opportunity for other types of events that happen. So while I can't sit here and promise you we're gonna have X community event or Y community event, because those are partnerships, I think between our organization and what we've been able to do in projects like the Garber Feed Mill, the tenant and their kinds of partnerships that they have, it's gonna be a core component of how this building operates. I think winter is an amazing opportunity to do what West Allis does great in the warm seasons, to bring that inside. So, I've had some conversations with the farmers. There's farmers from this area that come to the Madison market that we host, and they are over the moon about the opportunity to do a market here. We gotta work through some of the logistics, but to extend what you all have here, which is a great farmers market with all sorts of energy and people who come from all around the region to visit, to be able to extend that to 3 or 4 seasons, I think through a project like this is absolutely a goal of ours. So we look to you guys as well for ideas on ways in which we can activate the space for more community things. Conversations with the city, I think, and folks that are part of the farmers market have been helpful, but we know there's a lot more there too. But the way it's being designed and the way we think about it and the partner, absolutely, that is a priority for us in terms of how this building operates. And then the last question was, how can we ensure basically the building isn't reused for storage or no other local use? Well, the economics don't really support it. I mean, we ultimately have to have a project that is of benefit to us from a rent perspective, but then also has to have lasting impact in the community because of the way the project is being financed and designed. So it is not our intention, is not our goal. I don't even think it's in our wherewithal to turn this building into something that is low end use. It's too special of a building. And I think as an organization, you can certainly look at our track record of historic renovation and how we try to create authentic, meaningful projects. And this building, where it's located, the work that we've done already with the city, and the kind of building it is, it really offers that. So we're excited. We appreciate your patience, and happy to answer questions or any concerns that you have to the best of my ability.
Is a brewery included in this?
A brewery? No. We have Oak Brewery next door.
Right next door.
Yeah, which is a conversation that we have been ongoing with them related to how we can collaborate with them. We've met with John several times. He's excited about us. We're excited about him, but no intention of having a brewery inside, because you've got a great one next door, and they really kind of complement each other as far as we can see. The opportunity to have a parking lot or that open outdoor space actually creates, I think, a real nice space that we can do some things together, which conceptually we've talked about at a very high level, but we see that relationship as only being beneficial, and very happy that they're there, and I think vice versa.
Mr. Niemer?
For staff, is there any end of lease terms on the parking lot in terms of renewal?
So that's one we've gone back and forth. So it's currently set up to just tie into their lease with the tenant, because their tenant has to know that they're gonna have the parking as long as they're there. So the way we had it set up is a 10-year lease on the parking, which is the same as they have with their tenant. Now what we discussed just today was, well, if the tenant leaves and another event space user comes in, it would also need the parking. So it's more, tied to the use, the parking.
What, so does it say at the end of 10 years, the existing tenant has the option of renewing the lease for $1?
Yeah, it's currently set up for them to be able to renew, as long as they're continuing to renew with the developer, they would be able to renew the parking lot leases at that same
At the
point.
current value.
Yep.
And can you put a COLA on that, so this goes up to like $1.10, $1.25?
Right.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Ms.
The parking, how many employees
I think they have like 30 right now.
currently, but they're gonna go to, well, you have 40 part-time,
40
60,
part-time, yep.
60, so you have, let's call it 50 now, and you're gonna add another 20-ish. So let's say you have 60 employees driving cars there. They're gonna be parking in that parking lot?
Some of them will. I mean, a lot of their employees are off, you know, they're coming in, they're getting equipment, and they're
Yeah.
going to events, right?
And
So,
how many trucks do they have?
I think they have about a fleet of about 15 to 20 vehicles.
Okay.
I know there's a question that came up.
So those are gonna essentially, I don't think we've ever built a parking lot that is essentially vehicle storage when the vehicles are not in use. We've helped, and fire has helped with a bunch of parking lots
Yeah.
over the years. But nowhere is it just, it's for customers or employees to come and go. Nowhere is it just where the vehicles just get stored there.
Yeah,
So it will be vehicle storage for their commercial vehicles when they're not in use.
yes, but primarily the use is needed for,
Oh, I understand
is
that.
for the events, right?
I'm just
So-
trying to wrap my head around,
Yeah.
you know, this is a little new
Yeah,
territory.
so it's really to, if you think about it, it's really to make more purpose out of the parking lot, right? During the day, the event employees may be parked there, I don't.
Well, I'm thinking on a
anticipate it's gonna
Wednesday, there's no events maybe, but there's still 40 cars for employees there, and then however many 25 vehicles parked there, taking up most of the parking lot. Right,
Yeah.
what's the parking lot overall?
So we think we can get, in the 150 to
Oh, okay.
170 stall range.
And it's gonna have a delineation between it and the Oak parking lot, they're not just gonna
There's
flow
gonna be
together.
there's a curve,
There'll
Oak
be a
has a
curb
planned
there.
curve that they haven't installed yet.
And what's the signage gonna say, do we know, in the
The-
parking lot?
That's gonna depend on how the sub-agreement with Oak works out, so.
Okay. Okay, and 5 years from now, we gotta mandate no more ICE vehicles, we gotta put electric car chargers everywhere. Who's paying for that?
We haven't thought about putting electric car chargers in the parking lot.
I'm not saying 5 years from now, but I think within a 10-year lease, if there's not a mandate, we're gonna see an interest at least, especially for short drive commercial vehicles, or.
Oh, for the commercial vehicles
Yeah, for
charge?
commercial vehicles or their employees,
I
or.
mean, that would be their company's
Okay.
needs,
I
I
mean,
don't think
it's-
we would.
So, but city's responsible for the underground, right?
If they're putting in something like that of a special need for their client, we
Well,
don't-
it's a special need today, but I think in the future, it will just be a de facto, you know, not a requirement, but I think we're seeing a lot of that now, more every year. I think we should be thinking about it. Maybe that goes into the lease, or, you know, if the need arises, I'm not saying there can't be a cost share with the city, but, at least there should be some clarification on it, you know. I was in love with this project when it started. Okay, cause I go to the Garber Feed Mill, my daughter was in Madison with her husband, you know, it's a regular stop. But you can go there at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, get a cup of coffee. Okay, that's not what, and that's how this started, and I understand the need to change. I'm just concerned it's not gonna be across the board, different day parts, active things for different things. Cause you have offices in there, you have food service, food and beverage service, you have the meeting space, it's really cool. But this is really just gonna be the single user, and I have faith in your choice of the user, and I guess I understand. You can't afford just to make it record storage for something, you know. But there's a commitment for it to be, that much of it is event space, it looked like, you know, I mean, it's not gonna start just shrinking eventually inside, oh, events aren't that, we're not doing any, what's the maximum capacity gonna be for an event, do we know?
Uh,
Allison?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a maximum capacity defined. What makes this different is the amount of space that is available from other venues in the market, right? It allows for more flexibility, and that's what we're trying to kind of.
So this is gonna be dividable, you'd be able to do something for just 50 people in there too, or?
That would be the goal, yeah. is to-
Okay,
is
no,
to
I
try
understand
to create
flexibility, or
separate spaces.
3
If you've
different
seen-
events at the same time with a
Yeah.
little separation.
Exactly, if you've seen Garver, you know, we have a little gallery
Yeah.
space that also dubs as a small space, we have a lounge, which also includes a small area for smaller events, but yeah, I mean, working to, create kind of smaller, divisible spaces without deterring the, historic fabric, is something that is a priority for the project, absolutely. But, you know, if it makes sense to bring a coffee cart and have, you know, a local coffee vendor utilize a, you know, an outdoor space or something like that, I mean, it's in our interest to find more uses during war times, for those kinds of purposes. So I just don't have, you know, I don't have the ability,
A crystal ball.
not the crystal ball, but also ability to build out 14 different types of spaces. I mean, the market,
The world's
commercial real estate
changed.
market has changed.
And we have Makers Row a block away.
Right.
Oaks right next door.
Yep.
Speaking of outdoors, so 1 liquor license,
Yes,
and I saw the way it's laid out, the office is on the south end, right? Or the
the
storage?
warehouse is on.
Warehouse is
Yeah.
on the south end. So, if you had some sort of, so you'd have, would you think about maybe building out that north end with like a little patio or something? Cause at events, people like to smoke.
Oh, for sure,
If
yeah.
somebody's at an event,
So this area here is intended to be kind of that outdoor space,
oh, that's on
which
the
is
east
really
side, on the east side,
right?
okay.
So
okay,
really kind of is shielded from the neighborhood, creates
Okay,
that kind of
yeah.
private cove.
okay.
But yeah, the intention is to be able to
So
utilize that
so
for.
that's gonna be like a patio for
Yep.
the
Patio
Yep,
there.
exactly.
the east side.
It says patio, but it's hard to see.
Okay. And you said on the windows, you said what we see is what we're gonna get. That's what you're talking about right there.
Well, I don't know where that drawing came from.
Yeah, because that, I could have done that in SketchUp.
It probably was.
Yeah.
Well, it was done by Zimmerman Architecture. When it was just, creating trying to create a vision for the property, the idea was restored windows and
Yeah, I
brick.
mean, I can tell you on the east side there, it's, only 1 story of windows up
Yeah,
on the
cause
top,
there's
right?
the mezzanine in there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. That
Inside.
shows windows on all 4 sides, full windows.
Yeah, that's not.
That's
how
not,
it's-
that's,
right.
that's
But-
not.
Yeah, it's close.
Are we gonna see some prettier pictures, more accurate representations of what it's gonna look
I
like?
mean,
Cause you said what we see is what we're gonna get.
yeah, I mean.
And we're not getting what's there now, right? We're
Well,
not
it's
getting
gonna,
exactly
it's
what's
gonna
there.
be cleaned up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the brick's gonna be clean, the
Yeah.
steel's gonna be clean,
We're gonna have the multicolor?
I hope so, that is my goal. We have to get it approved by National Park Service, what we have to determine is what was original, what was original back in 1912.
Well, there were only black and white photos back then.
Exactly. So that's gonna be an archive, kind of, research adventure, but yes, I mean, we wanna be able to make those windows opaque and represent what's there. that
I think that's part of the wow factor.
I totally agree, yep. But when I say what you see is what you get is, I mean, the detail, level
Oh,
of detail.
no, I saw the,
that went
the
into-
3 different panel
Yep.
sizes and, yeah,
Yep.
I saw that.
So,
Yeah, no, I'm still a little stuck on the park, like I said, I'm not saying no to it.
Yeah.
I think we're real close, but I'm certainly not in love with it the way I was, but again, the world's changed, a lot of things have changed, so.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If the tenant that you want to take in there that's gonna do all this eventing centers and each out, in and out, as he grows and he needs more spaces, how much of that building is gonna be dedicated to him and not so much for the event centers in the
The
city?
warehouse space can expand, that's what I
Yeah.
was getting at, that shows,
yeah.
it looks like
No,
about a third is yellow, right?
Right.
Again, I mean, the way the building works economically is to program the event space as much as possible. So any shrinkage of that event space wouldn't really make the project work. So,
Okay.
we're, they are oversizing the warehouse from day one, so, cause they know that they will
Yeah.
continue to grow.
So that's more than they need?
That's a little bit more than they
That's more than they
need.
need
Yep,
currently?
yep.
Okay. You know,
Well, it's just a question,
Yeah.
that's why I was curious.
Yeah, it'll be a decent problem to have, but we wanna maximize as much event square footage as possible. Obviously, we have to balance out parking though, right?
Yeah.
Because the bigger the event space, the more parking you need. So I think as we, like all of our projects that have some type of event community space, there's a learning curve, right? And it's an education process about how's the building utilized, how should people park, when should they park, where are alternatives? It's a learning curve. We're still learning how Garver works 5 years later.
And if one more question, Mr. Chair? My concern about the single use is, I mean, we know what happened to the event business with COVID, you know? And can this business survive like another, say, just picking 1 year, sorry.
Yeah.
No groups bigger than 5 anywhere, or,
Yeah, I mean, I think they could survive a year.
I mean, I don't think it's gonna happen again, I think we learned a lot of lessons, I hope we learned a lot of lessons with COVID and how we reacted to it, but, you
Sure.
know.
I mean, the space and the area around the space create a lot of optionality, right? So I think that there's some, you know, I'm a huge pickleball player, whether you hate it or not. I mean, we think that it could be utilized as an indoor pickleball place for the community during the winter season, when we're not using it for events. I think that the type of group that we have and the type of, you know, we got through COVID at Garver, we lost 1 out of 14 businesses, which I think is pretty impressive, given kind of where.
Yeah, but
things
you
were.
had 14 businesses, so you had a diversity, you had a mix of businesses.
Yep.
And if you had one business and all it was events, not only events there, but events at other venues around southeastern Wisconsin, I think you would've lost them.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
let's hope that never happens again, but,
No, yeah, no.
we're a very creative group. We've figured it out before. We've been through the recession, we've been through COVID with all of our projects.
How long has Baum been around?
Well, Baum Revision as an entity has been together for about 8 years, but Baum Development has been around for 30 years.
Oh, okay, something. I just was trying to remember which recession. Oh, 8?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Alderman, you have any questions?
No.
Thank you. Do you want, so the resolution is to approve the purchase and sale, are you recommend to put that on hold or move forward, or you wanna
Ready to act on
discuss
it,
after
we can.
closed session?
I think I'd like to talk to Alderperson Haas about this too.
Yeah.
Do we know when he's gonna be back? I mean, does it mess up our timeline if we delay it? I mean, we
It
still
doesn't,
have-
we can't do the land sale until there's a public hearing, so it's
Anyways.
at least looking for, you know, if you wanted to give us direction to move forward with,
Yeah,
you know,
I think it's
noticing the
certainly-
public hearing for the lands.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you could take up the purchase and sale and development agreement at the same time as you'd sell the land, which really actually makes sense.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to Alderperson Haas about it at least.
So, we want to,
Let's hold it.
okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your.
Thank you.
presentation.
More pretty pictures.
You'll probably be back again.
No problem.
Thank
You
you.
better be back.
6 and 7 can be held until after
We're
closed
committed.
session.
Yeah,
Oh, there's no action, closed session items,
yeah. No action?
no action.
Okay, then we'll proceed with, item
Item
6,
eight.
discussion.
Item 8.
What about?
6 and 7, we can take in closed session.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought you did.
No.
Okay, item 8, reappointment of Beatrice Chestnut by the executive director of the Community Development Authority for residential advisor board member for a 3-year term to expire August 15th, 2026.
Move approval.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Item 9, consideration relative report on redevelopment initiatives. Any
No.
questions? And you have the floor, Patrick.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight, we toured a property that's for sale listed, a very large one. It's just what's going on in the market. This was a 200 to 300 employee business in West Allis at 109th and Lincoln, Henry Scheid, publicly traded company. And we had a chance to go tour it with a developer, and
What happened, you said what happened to them?
they're still
They're still there,
working
working from home?
Working from home. Yeah.
What is this like, is this sales and service, sales?
I don't know, there was a lot of
Are they making,
design,
are they making
Design.
plants at
a lot
home?
of design. Um,
Design for dental.
They moved
Get
the
a little
number
Mattel
of the-
thing maker, you know?
They moved a number of the jobs to New Berlin. They had another facility in New Berlin as well, but that's more like an industrial looking building. But they decided to put this one up for sale, and we were touring and just, you know, they're taking the cubicles apart. All the copiers are by the back door. There must have been a dozen of them. You know, just complete, you know,
World's
Changed.
changed.
yeah. And it's a over 100,000 square foot building,
Wow.
and it's listed. It's 6.8 million assessed, 7.6 million for sale. And I just wanted to note, you know, some of the inquiries we've been receiving have been mini storage, maybe a flex industrial demolition of it.
It's not zoned for storage, is it?
It is zoned for storage. It's adjacent to storage.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a nonprofit type of use, and then we pitched it to this, we have a market, a pickleball user that has interest in our area, but they really look for public-private type of partnership locations. You know, shared parking, maybe municipal paid parking, that type of situation, but, you know, just going down the Highway 100 corridor, and we kind of discussed this as staff this morning. You have Highway 100 in Oklahoma, 5 acre parcel. You have this 5 acre, almost 6 acre parcel. There might be additional ones. Northern Brewery is closing their bricks and mortar locations. And I know in the upcoming Plan Commission, in upcoming council meetings, there will be some discussion about the Lane School. So there is a, you know, a evolution of some change occurring in this corridor, and there could be other parcels as well. And how do we advance development in this corridor? There's been a practice that, you know, Highway 100's been a high retail, high demand, high value, kind of fended for itself. And if you look at the first couple of uses on here, you know, it's not been the greatest. I mean, maybe there will be an industrial user that steps in and buys the site. Maybe it's in distribution of some sort. But the thing is, it's not to today's standards in terms of the ceiling heights. I mean, it's really old warehouse. The old warehouse part of the building is actually being used for office, and because the ceiling heights are not much different than the height in this room. So I don't know how that can be used for distribution. And since it doesn't meet a lot of today's standards, it might impact the eventual economic vitality of the property. Like, you can't, you know, you're 24 feet with racking and things like that, so you're getting your density of storage and things like that. But just, those are some of the comments. It's gonna be interesting to see how this pans out, but there's, I wanted to share that one. And then lot 4, you can see Makers Row's under construction, and Mandel Group is planning to come in and pitch a development on the lot 4 parcel within the next week. So that would clean up, or almost finish this whole block in terms of development, but they still have some end cap. I think in September, at the end of the SONA, there's hot yoga.
Yoga's open.
Will be opening.
Will be opening, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the other end cap that they're still marketing, which is like actually a great location with the visibility along National Avenue, and Makers Row's under construction. So still interest. I think they're going to come in and propose another residential building, as they had so much success with the West and SONA, but it might be smaller in nature and maybe something a little bit different. But all the dirt has been moved from that site, and that was one of my big issues. That every time I saw that pile of dirt, I'm like, that cannot stay there. I was just worried that it was going to stay there, and it's
Could
gone.
they accidentally take that pile of railroad ties along too?
I saw those laying over there.
They've been there for years.
Yeah.
The
Well, on
railroads.
the railroad side.
On the railroads, yeah, it's a railroad don't care.
That's what I have for
Ties, too,
updates, and
that's why they're
Yeah.
laying
and then
there.
I'll gladly answer any questions. If anybody has any questions on what we shared.
On this item, what is it, 9? No,
Yes.
yeah, motor castings, any news?
I do not have news other than they've been
They're plugging along.
plugging along at a unique pace.
Oh.
But, you know, they're trying to get rid of all that gravel and concrete from that back area. There's some other discussion that we'll have,
And along
Yeah,
with
it's
the-
in closed session, I have that slide.
And any, along with motor castings, do we know the timeline on the Washington Street expansion? Has it been firmed up, DOT and all that?
Not yet,
Okay.
no. Well, we have some dates, but it's sooner than,
26, I
Yeah.
think they were looking at potentially starting.
Cause it has to happen before,
right,
It's on the front end.
Yeah.
right,
before the big stadium thing.
right.
Yeah, 2026.
No other questions we got for, number 9?
Closed session.
Okay, then we'll go into closed session.
Oh, we have to vote on that. We have to vote on that.
Yeah. Well, first I gotta read the agenda.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. For agendas, items 4 to 7, the committee may convene in closed sessions pursuant to provisions section 19.85/1/E for the state statutes for the purpose of delivering, investing public funds whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This committee may convene in open sessions after the completion of its closed session to consider the balance of the agenda. Can I have a motion to go
Move to
into?
go in closed session.
Second.
Would you take roll call, please, Patrick?
Wayne Clark?
Yes.
John Niemer? I forget. Alderman Weigel?
Aye.
Andrea Mauter?
Yes.
That's a quorum.
Okay, we are
Passes.
now in
It's
closed
anonymous.
session.